working day. Today we're going to do some Euro mounts. Got a bunch of skulls waiting to get boiled up, and show you how I do it. You're going to need some 40 proof hydrogen peroxide. You can get that from any hair salon. If your wife goes to a hairstylist, maybe she can ask her to pick some up. You're going to need your OxiClean and your Dawn dish soap and a large burner and pan to put the head in. Something you don't mind getting dirty, and you want to do this outside because it's going to get a little stinky. Let's go grab a bunch of heads and start boiling. Alright, so we got our pots boiling with water. Now we're going to just go ahead and drop the heads in, and then we'll put in a little Dawn dish soap and a little OxiClean. Watch it boil. Knock the skull face off that skull. Poke skull's a little harder. Just remember, you don't want to get too much of the antlers into the water, and don't overfill your pot, otherwise it's going to boil out. So I usually leave it a little low, put the heads in, and then fill up a little more water when I need it. We're going to let these boil for like half an hour. Now these heads are a few months old. I've had them in some plastic bags, just left them open, not let any rain get in, but so the flies can get in and eat them all. If you have a fresh head that you've just caped, you're gonna have to boil a little longer, maybe an hour, to get everything off of them. These ones, there's not much left. The flies and maggots have eaten everything. I already caped them off. So it should only take probably a half an hour. I'm gonna pull them out, pressure wash them, and then we'll throw them back in. Add a little Dawn dish soap in each one. I like to add the Dawn and the Oxy after I put the heads in. So once it's boiling, that soap just rolls and boils and makes a real mess. You just need a scoop. You don't need a whole lot, because you may have to reboil again to get everything where you want it. And they're going. When we take them out, we'll knock those jaws off, because I didn't do that yet. And then we'll take a look and see what they look like. So now it's boiling over because I put the soap in. That's what you don't want. It makes a mess. Alright, we got the elk heads out of the water. Now it's time to pressure wash them. Knock off all the extra stuff that's still attached to the skull. Big priorities here are get all that loose meat and skin off. Knock these jaws off. Make sure you get up here in the foramen magnum, that big hole in the back of the head where the spinal cord comes through. Get up there with the pressure washer, get all the brains out. Anything left on this is going to end up stinking later, so pressure wash it real good. Some tips: if you have a thin skull, like a younger cow or a little spiked deer or elk, be a little bit more sensitive on your pressure washing, because it will knock off or go right through the skull if they're kind of paper thin. And it's real tough to get those ones to turn out right. I'll go ahead and pressure wash these for you, show you how it's done. Got this little tip from, I think it was Corey Jacobson or maybe Remy Warren. Put a pallet down where you're pressure washing, because if you don't, all that grass and dirt in the ground comes right back up onto the head, and it just makes a muddy, grassy mess on the head as you're doing it. This gives you a little bit more control. You can stick your foot on the horns, you can move it around in between the pallet slats. Gives you a good working space to go ahead and pressure wash this. So we'll get that done, show you guys what it looks like. so we've got our animal heads boiled. I just let them out to dry last night. Today we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna whiten them now. Now this is where I differ a little bit from some other people. Some people will stick their hydrogen peroxide in a new pot of boiling water, then stick the heads in to whiten them. I find it is better if you take the hydrogen peroxide and paint it on the skulls and then let it sit for 24 hours and then just wash it off with water and things should be completely white. If it's not, reapply it again, go another 12, 24 hours and then start over. It's pretty simple. Just get a paintbrush or a sponge. Try not to get this on you because it is very caustic. And just take it, paint it on all over, get every little crevice you can of the skull. Be pretty liberal about it. You don't have to be stingy on it. Another thing you want to look at is if the teeth are really dirty and you wipe it with the hydrogen peroxide, that will take that decay right off those teeth and turn them white. So if you don't like that, go ahead and paint them, turn them white. Get into all the little nooks and crannies you can, in the eye sockets, everything that you want completely white. I find doing it this way is a little bit, gets things a little whiter, allows the hydrogen peroxide to work a little better. When you stick the hydrogen peroxide into the boiling pot with the heads, you're just diluting it even more and you're wasting a lot of the hydrogen peroxide. So just paint them on. Come back tomorrow, wash them off, see how they look. That's it, pretty simple. All right, so we've got all of our heads boiled, cleaned, whitened, washed them off with the hose this morning. They're looking good. Let's talk about a few things that can happen and go wrong with the process. So first thing, in the pot, if your pot's not the right size, sometimes it's hard to get the heads in, especially with the big elk heads. It'd be nice to have a big square pot or something to stick them in. Sometimes you gotta boil it from the back and the front, different times just to get all that cleaned off. Another thing that can happen is your head might just go too far into the pot and your antlers will be buried in water. You don't want that. So you can either tape up the antlers as you put them in, or kind of jimmy rig a little setup to where just the head sits in and the antlers sit above the water. You can use that with, I've seen wire coat hangers wrapped around the pot and the antlers to kind of just support it so the antlers aren't going in the water. The antlers go in the water. It's not a huge deal, but you're gonna have to clean them off. If you're using the peroxide in the water, it is a big deal because it will whiten these horns off. So don't try and not get any peroxide on the horns itself. Let's talk a little bit about animals with horns. So like the antelopes, if the antelope head is brand new and the horn sheaths are still attached to the head, you're gonna need to get those off. Now you can stick them in the water, but you do not want these sheaths in any boiling water. So if you stick the head in, stick it in enough that these are out a little ways, and sometimes that steam will loosen them up enough that you can pop them off after a few hours and get them out of there. Otherwise, what I do with all my heads is if the weather's warm enough, stick them in a garbage bag and just stick them outside on the property. Leave the bag open just on the side so the flies can get in and all the maggots will eat off all the muscle and head tissue underneath the fur. Now you can either cape the fur off or leave it on. I prefer to leave the cape on the head for that part of the process. By the time you pull it out of the bag, yeah, it's gonna stink and be nasty, but that hair just falls right off in the pot and makes it really easy. And the horns will come right off too if you do something like that. Same with like a bighorn sheep, longhorn cow head. These horns come off, and if you don't get them off and you whiten the head and hang it, there is tissue inside of this horn connecting it to the skull. And that's gonna start to rot and it's gonna stink real bad. So you gotta get it off, clean it out, clean out the inside, let them sit, let them dry. These still stink a little bit, let them dry out a few more days, and then go ahead and attach them, glue them right onto your skull, and then you got your trophy. Another thing that can happen, and I actually left this in there so you guys can see, is there's a little piece of tissue that connects in between the nose bridge. You can just pull that out. Sometimes take a pair of pliers, get in there, just pull it out if it doesn't come out in the pot. If your nose pieces come off, not a big deal. Just pull them out of the pot, or when you drain the water, get them out and just glue them back on. Just super glue them back on. They fit real nice and easy, glue them back on. If you have a skull that's a little loose, it's not very tight, you can actually take just white Elmer's glue and just put it on there and paint it on. It actually turns the skull even more white and holds it all together. I've done that with quite a few heads. It looks, you can't tell the Elmer's glue is there after it's dry. And it holds the head together and the pieces on, makes it a little bit more sturdy for mounting. That's about it. If you do lose any teeth, not a big deal. Again, you can glue the teeth right back in. If you haven't taken your whistlers out of your elk before they go in the pot, they're gonna fall out in the pot. So when you dump that water, make sure to collect them. And you can glue them back in if you want for your mount, or keep them and do something else with them. That's about all I got. All the tips and tricks, tactics. There's a billion different ways to do these things. This is just the way that I found. I kind of switch it up and do something a little different each year, try something new. I actually let this deer head caped, and the elk head was caped, and I probably left them a little too long. They got a little bit stained on the back of the heads from just the muscle still being attached to them. So if you're gonna cape them, either get them frozen or try and boil them right away. That'd be my suggestion. All right, that's all I got. Thanks guys for listening, watching, tuning in. If you have any comments, tips, tricks of your own, let us know. Bye.